This might be a bit late or even after the fact, but I want to talk about Rosanna Pansino. A few weeks ago, in late October, she tweeted out stating that MrBeast edited her out of the top 3 in the Creator Clash 3 games. After a lot of debate, amongst Twitter especially, she then went back on her word and said that she would be deleting everything, though she did not claim that she was lying, and since then, really nothing else has happened. There were about 5 days of talking about this, and then everything went silent. Since it's been a little bit since then, I wanted to look into what other YouTubers have said, what some podcasts have said, and whether there's been any responses from anybody about anything. A lot of things were also left up in the air, and there's just been a general lack of information between NDAs for both Rosanna and other creators, and whether she might get sued or not. Fortunately, my friend Stell, at Stell on Twitter, informed me of this happening and saved a lot of screenshots of her deleted tweets, so there's still a little bit of information. My current running theory is that she deleted all of her posts because of the amount of death threats. Rosanna Pansino is a pretty big YouTuber. Where is she? There we go. She has, only 14.5 million subscribers, a humble 14, almost 15 million. That's massive. That is huge. So the fact that she got almost no screen time in this actual event, as well as Quackity, who we'll talk about in a second, is kind of insane. Looking through her screenshots, you can see a lot of things that were happening, a lot of stuff about support, a lot of things about MrBeast, speech about everything that happened, as well as some texts, which she was very upset about these messages because he was refusing to figure it out in wording. So she just kind of refused to call him because it wouldn't be in words. Personally, I think just go on the phone call and screen record the conversation or something if you really want any kind of confirmation of things that have happened. That's just me. I've never tried to screen record a phone conversation, but I'm sure that it would be possible. Yeah, and then there was also another point about Jacksepticeye not liking MrBeast. And then MrBeast responded when Jacksepticeye was like, I don't like MrBeast. And then when Rosanna was like, I was edited out. Radio silence. Which, I don't know, just seemed kind of weird. Redacting apology to MrBeast of not setting things privately. Or settling things privately, sorry. And apparently certain issues will be handled. She also mentioned her poorly timed YouTube video, which was admittedly poorly timed. You can see on her Twitter, this was, I think, like maybe 2 days after she made the claim that MrBeast intentionally edited her out, and then she released her music video, which is also visible on her channel here. So, a lot of people were then accusing her of clout chasing, especially the MrBeast fans, and she received a lot of backlash for that. She said that she got multiple death threats from pretty much every single platform, which is insane! That is insane! That one creator would say, hey, I don't feel like this is okay. And then fans of other creator would say, kill yourself. That is insane. Don't tell creators to kill. Don't tell anyone to kill themselves. Oh my gosh. No, especially not for reasons as this. Because look at where we are. Look at where we are. Where now it is about 3 weeks later, and literally nobody's talked about it. But in the moment, people were sending Rosanna death threats and other horrible things, and she was being harassed very terribly. Maybe before you hit that tweet button or that send a message button, just think a little bit. Just think a little bit. That is just so wild. What MrBeast had to say about this was nothing. Just around when it was happening, about October 26th, said something about digging up fossils, and that was it. And there was nothing else. So, I decided to go onto a few podcasts, go look at a few podcasts. First, I looked at Stan's video, actually. We're gonna look at Stan's, because Stan did a dive. He did dive into this when it was happening, and I'll have this video linked in the description, but I wanted to play this clip real quick to show you guys.
Obvious that it's fake.
Yeah, unbelievably obvious, yeah.
What they were saying there was, re-watching it, you can tell that there's some things, there's some unevenness between the clips, which they'll show in a moment.
For a tiny Rosanna Pansino, where would I?
That machine is shaking. That pad literally just lifted the thing off. I'm not seeing the machine shaking. That's all I'm saying. Still shaking, but not seeing in those clips. They also mentioned how Matt Pat should be mad because they pretty much kind of made him look like an idiot the entire time. But with that aside, because Matt Pat isn't mad, you can see there that there's a little bit of unevenness in the clips. And that's the biggest thing that, you know, people like stands when rewatching. We're like, oh, yeah, that doesn't look right at all. So then in the H3 podcast, this is, man, wild that H3 podcast highlights is an hour and 7 minutes long. The actual podcast itself was about 3 hours. The artist spoiled me with 1.5 hour episodes. I didn't even know that they got longer than that, which is crazy. This is relating to NDAs, and this is important because this is one of the biggest things that was left up in the air. Is, did she break an NDA? What about other creators' NDAs? And will she be sued because of potentially breaching an NDA contract?
The NDA by coming out, or was there some kind of legal clarification you got on it?
We'll see.
I got you.
We love that for you.
Well, I'll tell you this. A lot of times NDAs are not enforceable at all, depending, because you can't use an NDA to like hide malpractice. You can do it so that people don't share like spoilers,
right, or
and like
company
secrets, but
Which
like,
she didn't.
using an NDA to prevent legitimate whistleblowing is not really
what it's
really
for.
Yeah.
And so then he proceeded to say, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know. So I looked up the rules about an NDA myself. And what I found is what situations or circumstances might make an NDA unenforceable. Agreements too broad, information's not confidential. And that's probably the one that's the most questionable. Or did she breach an NDA or not? Because the information has already been widely disclosed or public knowledge. The public didn't know, but all of the other creators involved and the editing staff knew. So that's a little bit difficult. What Stell says, NDAs are legally enforceable contracts that create a confidential relationship between a person who has sensitive information and a person who will gain access to that information. So the general duty is to not share that information. How long they last, that's about 1 to 5 years. Fits in the time range of, you know, how long it took for her to speak out. Violating an NDA does leave you open to a lawsuit and other financial things. It does not look like she's been sued because it has been multiple weeks since then, and she has not said anything about being sued. Nobody said anything about suing, so I think either the NDA contract with, you know, Rosanna and probably all the other creators is up, or MrBeast doesn't care to sue, or she just didn't, you know, breach the NDA. I personally don't think that she breached the NDA, because even if it was still going, the video was out. The video was out. It wasn't like she was leaking anything. It wasn't like it was, you know, revealing, I would say, you know, super private personal information that could ruin the MrBeast company. She was just saying her own personal experience. Then you might be wondering, well, if the NDA has expired, why haven't any other creators spoken about this? Which Rosanna speaks about here, because there are plenty of other creators who can vouch for when she finished in the MrBeast video, but it is likely that they cannot talk about it, or are choosing not to talk about it for risk of the backfiring, because they work so closely with MrBeast, and after seeing the amount of backlash that Rosanna received online by speaking out about this, it's like when Dream face revealed, and then Corpse was like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that, after seeing the reaction to what happened with Dream. So that's possibly why the creators haven't said anything.
So the people that could verify would be ZHC. He's so sweet to me. I really love him. He found me with MrBeast. They were driving in a golf cart.
This clip can be seen in the final video. In the top 5 segment, they show the clip of Rosanna. However, they don't really actually show her saying anything through the entire video, which was really weird considering that she is such a huge YouTuber. She placed in the top 3. Even for being placed in the top 5, to me it feels very odd that she would have pretty much no speaking. There was that segment where it shows MatPat looking for her, and then there's the clip of her being found, and then there's a clip of her standing next to the prize money behind MrBeast, announcing the last 2 people, which were actually Lorray and Zach King. He does not say, you know, who the last 2 people are, but that's who it actually was. But Lorray was sleeping, so he got disqualified. They were probably thinking, that's an anticlimactic ending. Lorray was literally just asleep. Let's design a new one.
And I was in transition, and they found me, and ZHC gave me a big hug. But you know, ZHC is business partners with MrBeast.
I think I remember him designing a MrBeast car at some point.
I understand. I'm not mad about it. I totally get it. And then MatPat, who's a dear friend of mine, I love him. I feel like he's my brother from another mother. He didn't do anything wrong. And he also is under, you know, an NDA, and it's not his fault that MrBeast made these edits.
So what she's saying there makes me think that there could possibly be different NDA iterations, or she straight up said, screw the NDA, I'm talking. Because as she's mentioning it, he's under an NDA. He's currently under an NDA, which makes me think that she just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna run this risk, and then MrBeast either realized that's not technically breaking NDA, or straight up was just like, this fight is not worth fighting. And there was another podcast called the Just Trish podcast who also spoke a bit about this, and this is what Rosanna had to say.
They edited me out like midway through the video. The thing that I didn't understand, and I'm still confused today, and it hurt my feelings, is like when MrBeast talks about these creator games and challenges, he said, you know, it's all in good fun. Like, audience, don't take it too serious. All of the money that's won is donated. You know, it's given away. So it's we can just have some fun with it. And I was like, yeah, that's really cool. And so when it aired, when the video came out, my friends were like, what happened?
Really? Because you weren't in it.
They had me get eliminated like somewhere in the middle, and I was really proud of myself because
I think they said that she was
not mean and
fifth.
competitive. You know, I just go out there and do my best, and I actually beat other creators who are a lot of male creators who are super competitive. They're very
Logan
talented.
Paul.
Like, these are big creators, and so I was proud of myself that I had accomplished that. And
I think right there is the issue, that MrBeast says stuff like this is all fun and games and whatnot, but then he brings in very competitive creators. I know this in particular, it was the biggest creators on YouTube and whatnot, but I think when you have a game like this, especially this went for 24 hours, but the creators themselves, between setting up for other things and getting ready, like getting up, getting ready, getting there and all that, they were awake for 30 plus hours. They were awake for such a long time. So when you're taking a heck of a lot of money, plus competitive creators, plus they are so sleep deprived and exhausted, I feel like the general sense of playing fair is going to disintegrate a little bit. It's going to collapse just a little bit. I'm going to mention Quackity now. We're going to talk a little bit more about Quackity, because Quackity himself hasn't said anything since then, which has been interesting. But one of the clips where you can kind of tell that things have been rearranged, that, you know, things that have been filmed have been reordered, is because Quackity would have been second place right here, though. So when this was filmed, he believed that he was third place because Lorray and Zach King were still in it, but then Lorray got eliminated, so he would have been second place, but still he thought he was third place in this. They didn't know that Lorray had been eliminated yet. So in this clip in particular, there's also not much of Quackity, and this is something that Stell pointed out to me in particular, is that is the general feel. I understand that it's only a 12-minute video, and that it's 24 plus hours of footage and whatnot. It is a lot of footage for everyone.
I saw you walking through the windows right there.
You just robbed me of $1 million.
Come on, don't say that, Quack.
Look at that $1 million. Yeah, you can wave goodbye to it.
With 7 people.
Sorry about my screen. I don't know why it does that when whenever I play YouTube videos. But yeah, so pretty much right there, he pretty much believes that if he wasn't found, then he would have won that. I believe in that moment, that's what he was thinking. So something that Rosanna mentions in the Just Trish podcast, or at least kind of leans towards a bit, is that the reason that she was essentially rearranged to be eliminated early was based in a little bit of sexism, and potentially with Quackity, maybe even based in a bit of racism, but I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. What I believe that the reason that she was moved back is because many of the other creators who were essentially featured as the top 3 were just generally more well-known, more spread around. Quite genuinely, I had no idea who Rosanna was before this, but I knew who Logan Paul was. I knew who Zach King was. I knew who a bunch of these other creators were, but I didn't know Rosanna. And so I feel like that probably applies to a lot of other people, which is why MrBeast and the editing crew decided we're gonna drop Rosanna. And so what's come of it? Really nothing. Since then, the relevancy of this has been nothing. No one's really talked about it. And it's all blown over. And my lights are being weird. And that's just kind of how it is. So, don't tell creators to kill themselves, because it is 3 weeks later and this is all blown over. And, yeah, she's not being sued, I guess. Really, it's an anticlimactic ending, but am I changing it? Am I spreading false news to make it more interesting? No, that's just what happened. So don't harass people online. That's what our moral today is gonna be. Don't harass people online. I'm gonna go edit this now because, I did a dumb thing. You won't know what dumb thing I did, but I'm gonna go edit it now and record another video. Bye.